The massive screens in Times Square flickered with excitement as humanity watched the Galactic Council's ships descend through Earth's atmosphere. Golden vessels that looked like falling stars painted the sky, their hulls gleaming in the summer sun. People held their breath, phones raised high to capture humanity's first official contact with the galactic community. Among the crowd stood Captain James Miller, his military uniform crisp despite the humid New York air. His eyes narrowed as he studied the approaching ships. 20 years in the Space Force had taught him to look past the shine and search for substance. These aliens were putting on quite a show, but something felt off about the whole thing. The lead ship landed in the specially prepared area of Central Park, its golden surface dimming to a subtle glow. The crowd's cheers echoed across Manhattan as tall, elegant figures emerged from the vessel. The alien diplomats walked with perfect posture, their long robes flowing despite the lack of wind. "Quite the entrance," muttered Susan Thompson, who stood next to Miller. As Earth's leading spacecraft engineer, she had been chosen to evaluate whatever technology the Council might share with humanity. Her dark eyes sparkled with curiosity, but her mouth was set in a suspicious line. The alien delegation approached the waiting human leaders. Their spokesperson, a tall figure with silvery skin, spread 4 arms in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. "People of Earth," the alien's voice carried clearly through their translation device, "we welcome you to the galactic community." The ceremony proceeded exactly as planned. Speeches were made, promises of cooperation and friendship were exchanged, and then came the moment everyone had been waiting for, the presentation of Earth's acceptance gift. As is tradition, the alien spokesperson announced, "We present you with a vessel of our making to help humanity take its first steps among the stars." The air shimmered, and suddenly it appeared, floating above Central Park like a ghost ship from an old tale. But as the shimmer faded, confused murmurs spread through the crowd. The ship looked old. Its hull was a patchwork of dull metal plates, some showing clear signs of wear. It was massive, yes, but it had none of the elegance of the Council's golden vessels. Miller watched as Thompson's fingers flew across her tablet, her frown deepening with each reading. "Captain," she whispered, "these energy readings are barely above minimum spaceflight requirements. This thing is running on technology that's, well, by their standards, it must be ancient." The alien spokesperson continued, their tone carrying what sounded suspiciously like amusement. "This Horizon-class exploration vessel has served many species well. We're sure humans will find it adequate for their current level of development." Miller caught the slight twitch at the corner of the spokesperson's mouth, a gesture that seemed universal among species, badly hidden contempt. He glanced at Thompson, who gave him a slight nod. She had caught it too. The ceremony concluded quickly after that. As the alien ships departed, their golden hulls once again turning into stars, humanity was left with their gift, now dubbed the Scrafy by the media. It hung in low Earth orbit like a sad reminder of humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy. 3 days later, Miller found himself floating through the vessel's main corridor with Thompson. The ship's artificial gravity was working, but only at 60% capacity. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls, the sound bouncing off walls that had clearly seen better days. "They really went all out to insult us, didn't they?" Miller said, running his hand along a wall panel that looked like it might fall off at any moment. "This ship is barely holding together." Thompson didn't respond immediately. She was focused on a section of exposed circuitry, her tablet displaying readings that meant nothing to Miller, but he knew that look in her eyes. The same look she got when faced with a particularly interesting puzzle. "Maybe," she finally said, "but they made a mistake. A big one." She turned to Miller, her face lit with excitement. "They assumed we'd see this ship the same way they do, as outdated, useless technology, but they don't understand how humans think." She pulled up a holographic display of the ship's power core. "Look at this. The core design, it's not specialized like modern alien ships. It's basic, adaptable. They'd probably see that as a weakness, but for us, she grinned, it's an opportunity. This ship is like a blank canvas, Captain, and humans have always been good at turning trash into treasure. Miller studied the display, beginning to understand her excitement. How long would it take to get it fully operational? Operational. Thompson laughed. Captain, I don't want to make it operational. I want to make it extraordinary. Give me 6 months, and Earth's best engineers. We'll show the Council exactly what humans can do with their adequate gift. As they continued their inspection, Miller noticed more and more signs that Thompson was right. The ship's flaws were actually opportunities in disguise. Its simple systems could be modified, improved, rebuilt. What looked like decorative patterns on the hull could house additional systems. The outdated power core could be adapted to human technology. They found the bridge last, a spacious room with views of Earth through massive windows. Most of the consoles were dark, their systems running on minimum power. But even here, Miller could see the potential. With human innovation, this room could become something the Council never imagined. You know what they're trying to do, right? Miller said, settling into the captain's chair. It creaked ominously under his weight. They're trying to keep us contained. Give us something that looks impressive, but will hold us back technologically. Thompson nodded, already making notes on her tablet. They think they've given us a ship that will take generations to improve upon. They want us dependent on their technology, their approval. She looked up, her eyes gleaming with determination. They have no idea what they've actually given us. Miller smiled, looking out at the Earth below. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had given humans exactly what humans do best with: a challenge, an opportunity, and something to prove wrong. Get your team together, he said. I want detailed assessments of every system, every circuit, every bolt. If there's potential for improvement, I want to know about it. He stood up, his mind already racing with possibilities. They handed us what they thought was a useless vessel. Let's show them what humanity can really do. As they left the bridge, Thompson paused at a half-functioning console. With a few quick taps, she brought up the ship's original specifications. You know what the funny thing is, Captain? This ship's base design, it's actually brilliant. Simple, yes, but brilliant. It's almost as if. As if what? As if whoever designed it originally built it to be modified. Like they were waiting for someone to come along who would see it differently. She shook her head. Or maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see. Miller looked back at the bridge, at all its dormant potential. Either way, I think we're about to make some waves in the galactic community. The Council wants to see what humans can do with their gift. He smiled. Let's give them a show they'll never forget. The makeshift command center buzzed with activity as engineers from every corner of Earth gathered to examine the alien vessel. Screens displayed technical readouts, while 3D holograms of ship systems floated in the air. Susan Thompson stood at the center of it all, directing the organized chaos like a conductor leading an orchestra. The power core is our priority, she announced, pointing to a holographic display of the ship's heart. It's running at 15% capacity, but that's not because it's broken. It's because we haven't figured out how to wake it up properly. Robert Wilson, a former military engineer with decades of experience in weapons systems, stepped forward. His weathered face creased in thought as he studied the core's design. Look at these connection points, he said, tracing lines in the air. They're universal adapters. This thing wasn't built to use just one type of power source. It was built to use anything. Thompson's eyes lit up. She quickly pulled up the ship's original specifications. You're right. The aliens probably saw this as primitive, but it's brilliant. We can hook up our fusion reactors, solar arrays, even the experimental quantum power cells. This ship could run on multiple power sources simultaneously. The team worked through the night, fueled by coffee and excitement. They discovered that almost every system on the ship followed the same principle. Simple, basic designs that could be modified and improved. It wasn't a limitation. It was an opportunity. A week later, Miller visited the ship to check on their progress. The corridors that had once echoed with emptiness now hummed with life. Engineers crawled through access panels, replaced old systems, and installed new ones. The air crackled with possibility. "Captain," Thompson called out, emerging from a tangle of wires. Her face was smudged with grease, but her smile was bright. "You need to see this." She led him to what had once been a bare section of hull. Now it bristled with new sensors and equipment. "Remember those decorative patterns on the outer hull? They're not decorative at all. They're prefabricated mounting points. The aliens probably forgot their original purpose, but we figured it out. We can attach almost anything to them." Wilson joined them, carrying what looked like a modified weapon system. "And that's not all," he added. "These mounting points form a grid across the entire ship. If we do this right, we could create the most advanced shield system humanity has ever designed." Miller watched as they demonstrated their discoveries. Every flaw in the ship's design had become an advantage. The outdated computer systems were being replaced with Earth's latest quantum computers. The weak engines were being modified to accept multiple types of propulsion. Even the life support systems were being upgraded to exceed anything currently in use. "How long until we can test it?" Miller asked, trying to hide his excitement. Thompson checked her tablet. 2 more weeks for the basic systems. But here's the interesting part. We're building everything to be modular. If something breaks or we develop better technology, we can swap it out in hours instead of months. This ship will never be outdated because it can always be upgraded. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity. The ship's transformation was remarkable. Its hull, once dull and patched, now gleamed with purpose. New systems peeked through the surface like jewels, each serving a vital function. The bridge, once dark and lifeless, now pulsed with energy. On the day of the first test flight, Miller stood on the bridge with Thompson and Wilson. The ship hummed around them, its new power core running at full capacity. Multiple energy sources worked in perfect harmony, providing more power than the original designers had ever imagined possible. "All systems are ready," Thompson reported, her fingers dancing across the new control panels. "Power output is stable at 300% of original specifications. Shield grid is online. Weapons systems are, well, let's just say we've got some surprises if we need them." Miller settled into the captain's chair, now properly reinforced and equipped with its own command interfaces. "Take us out, nice and easy. Let's see what she can do." The ship lifted smoothly from its dock, its new engines purring like a well-tuned machine. As they cleared Earth's atmosphere, Thompson began running through their test protocols. Each new system performed perfectly, exceeding even their optimistic expectations. Preparing for full power test, Thompson announced, "All departments report ready." Miller nodded. "Do it." The ship surged forward, its hybrid power systems working together in ways the Galactic Council had never imagined. On the screens, test data scrolled past at incredible speeds. Every system was performing at levels that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. "Look at these readings," Wilson said, grinning. "The shield grid isn't just defensive. It's actually improving our engine efficiency. The whole ship is working together like a single organism." As they put the ship through its paces, Miller couldn't help but smile. The aliens had given them what they thought was an obsolete vessel, but they had fundamentally misunderstood humanity. Where they saw limitations, humans saw possibilities. Where they saw outdated technology, humans saw a foundation to build upon. "We need a new name," Miller said as they completed their final test run. "We can't keep calling it the Scraffeep anymore." Thompson looked up from her station. "I've been thinking about that. What about Phoenix? In Earth mythology, it's a bird that rises from its own ashes, transformed into something more powerful than before." Wilson nodded approvingly. "Perfect. Because that's exactly what we've done here. We've taken their cast-off gift and turned it into something they never imagined possible." As they began their return flight to Earth, Miller gazed out at the stars. The Galactic Council had tried to contain humanity's growth, to keep them dependent and subordinate. Instead, they had given humans exactly what they needed: a challenge to overcome, a puzzle to solve, and a chance to prove themselves. "You know," Thompson said quietly, "I don't think they'll be smirking the next time they see this ship." Miller smiled. "No, they won't. But that's not why we did this. We did it because this is what humans do. We take what we're given, and we make it better. We adapt, we improve, we overcome." The Phoenix streaked back toward Earth, its systems humming with power and possibility. It was no longer a cast-off gift or an insult to humanity. It was proof of what humans could achieve when given the chance. And this was just the beginning. 6 months passed like a whirlwind of innovation and discovery. The Phoenix had become Earth's greatest technical achievement, though few beyond the project team knew its true capabilities. From space, it still looked like the same old vessel the Galactic Council had given them, but beneath its skin, it was something entirely new. Thompson stood in the ship's new control center, watching as her team installed the final pieces of their most ambitious upgrade yet. The room gleamed with holographic displays and smart surfaces that responded to touch and thought. Gone were the creaking panels and flickering screens. Everything now moved with smooth precision. "Final power core integration is complete," announced one of her engineers. "All 5 power sources are running in perfect sync. We're seeing output levels that are—" He paused, double-checking his readings, 700% above original specifications. Wilson walked in, carrying his latest creation, a handheld device that looked too small to be dangerous. "Wait until you see what this beauty can do," he said, grinning. "Remember those decorative hull patterns we found? Well, I've figured out how to turn them into weapon ports. One button, and this ship can defend itself from any angle." The Phoenix had indeed become something extraordinary. Its hull now contained thousands of micro-launchers, each capable of deploying everything from defensive shields to offensive weapons. The original designers had left the mounting points, but humans had taken the concept far beyond anything they had imagined. Miller entered the control center, looking impressed with the latest changes. "How's our AI system coming along?" he asked, settling into his command chair, now a marvel of engineering itself, capable of keeping him safe even if the ship took heavy damage. Thompson pulled up a holographic display. A gentle blue light pulsed in time with her words. "Meet HFY, Adaptive Response Intelligence Assistant. She's not just a computer. She's a true AI that can learn and adapt. She's already learned to manage all ship systems more efficiently than we ever could manually." "Hello, Captain Miller." HFY's voice was calm and clear. "All systems are operating at peak efficiency. The new quantum computing cores have expanded my processing capability by 300% since last week." Miller nodded approvingly. The decision to integrate Earth's experimental AI technology had been controversial, but the results were undeniable. HFY had taken their improvements and found ways to make them work even better together. "Show me the shield system," he requested. The holographic display shifted, showing layers of protective fields surrounding the ship. What had started as a simple defense grid had evolved into something revolutionary. The shields now adapted to any threat, using the enemy's own energy to grow stronger. "The latest tests are remarkable," Thompson said, highlighting specific data points. "When we hit the shields with energy weapons, they don't just block the attack. They absorb the energy and feed it back into our power system. The harder someone hits us, the stronger we become." Wilson stepped forward, adding his own data to the display. "And that's not all. Those simple hull patterns, we've modified them to create a metamaterial surface. We can adjust the ship's radar signature at will. We can look like a small shuttle, a massive warship, or nothing at all." Outside the ship, a maintenance team was installing the final pieces of the new sensor array. The Phoenix could now see further and more clearly than any human vessel before it, But unlike the specialized systems used by the Galactic Council, these sensors could be easily upgraded or replaced as better technology became available. "Time for a full systems test," Thompson announced. The engineering team took their positions, each monitoring different aspects of the ship's performance. Miller watched as screens filled with data, showing the incredible transformation they had achieved. Aria's voice provided updates as each system came online. Primary power grid at full capacity. Secondary and tertiary systems synchronized. Quantum cores operating at optimal levels. Shield grid energized. Adaptive defense systems ready. All weapons in standby mode. Environmental systems at 100%. The ship hummed with power, but it wasn't the unstable vibration they had felt 6 months ago. Now it was a smooth, confident pulse, like a heartbeat. Every system worked in perfect harmony, each improvement building on the others to create something greater than the sum of its parts. "Take us out," Miller ordered. "Let's see what she can really do." The Phoenix lifted smoothly from its dock, its new engines barely making a sound. As they reached orbit, Thompson began running through their test protocol. But this was no simple shakedown cruise. They were going to push the ship to its absolute limits. "Engaging maximum thrust," Thompson announced. The ship surged forward, accelerating faster than anything in Earth's fleet. The stars blurred around them, but inside the ship, no one felt more than a gentle push back in their seats. Wilson monitored the tactical systems as they ran combat drills. Holographic targets appeared and vanished as the ship's weapons tracked and eliminated them with perfect precision. The shield grid sparkled as it deflected simulated attacks, each impact making it stronger. "Energy levels are actually increasing," Thompson reported with satisfaction. "The more we use the systems, the more efficiently they work together. Aria is optimizing everything in real time." They pushed the ship harder, testing every system and capability they had added. The Phoenix responded perfectly, its hybrid systems working together in ways that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. It was no longer just a ship. It was humanity's greatest achievement. As they completed their final test run, Miller stood at the center of the control room, looking at his crew with pride. "The Council thought they were giving us an obsolete relic," he said. "Instead, they gave us the foundation for something they never imagined possible." Thompson nodded, still monitoring the test data. "Every primitive feature they mocked us for has become an advantage. Their specialized systems can't adapt or improve without completely rebuilding them. Ours." She gestured at the screens showing the ship's capabilities. "We can upgrade any part of this ship in hours. We'll never fall behind because we can always move forward." The Phoenix cruised back to Earth, its systems running perfectly. From the outside, it still looked much like the gift they had received, perhaps a bit shinier, a bit more purposeful in its stance. But inside, it had become something new, something that represented the very best of human ingenuity and determination. "We should invite the Council for a demonstration," Wilson suggested with a slight smile. "Show them what humans can do with a useless vessel." Miller shook his head, though he was smiling too. "Not yet. Let them think we're still struggling with their gift. The time will come to show them what we've achieved. But for now..." He looked out at the stars, thinking of the future. "For now, let's focus on making the Phoenix even better." The ship glided into its dock, its transformed systems powering down to standby mode. But unlike 6 months ago, it wasn't going to sleep. It was merely waiting, ready to prove that humanity could turn any challenge into an opportunity, any setback into a triumph. The real test would come soon enough, and the Phoenix would be ready. The emergency signal blared through Earth's communication channels, its alien frequency catching everyone by surprise. Miller was in the middle of a routine system check when Aria's calm voice interrupted his work. "Captain, I'm detecting a distress call from the Galactic Council colony on Delta 9. They are under attack by a significant pirate fleet. Current count shows 37 hostile vessels." Miller straightened in his chair. "How far are we from their position?" We are the closest vessel capable of responding. At maximum speed, we can reach them in 17 minutes. Thompson and Wilson rushed onto the bridge, having received the same alert. Their faces showed a mix of concern and determination. This would be the Phoenix's first real test, and against overwhelming odds. "The Council's going to love this," Wilson said, taking his station at tactical. "The humans coming to save them in their obsolete gift." Miller opened a channel to Earth Command, quickly receiving authorization to respond. The Council colony's fate was more important than keeping their ship's improvements secret. "All hands to battle stations. Thompson, give me everything the engines have got. Wilson, power up all defensive systems, but keep them hidden. Let's show them what this ship can really do." The Phoenix leaped forward, its hybrid engines pushing it to speeds that would have torn apart a lesser vessel. Inside, the crew felt nothing thanks to their advanced inertial dampeners. The stars stretched into lines of light as they raced to answer the distress call. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, they could already see the battle. Pirate ships swarmed around the colony like angry wasps, their weapons tearing through the orbital defenses. 2 Council ships lay crippled nearby, their golden hulls scared and dark. "This is Captain James Miller of the Earth vessel Phoenix responding to your distress call," Miller announced on all frequencies. "We are here to help." The response was immediate and dismissive. "Earth vessel, withdraw immediately," a Council commander ordered. "Your outdated ship will be destroyed. This is not a battle for primitive vessels." Miller ignored the warning. "AI, battle analysis." The AI's response was immediate. "Pirate vessels are using mainly energy weapons and standard missiles. Their shields are basic but numerous. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical superiority. I have identified 19 different weapon configurations and have adjusted our shield harmonics accordingly. Wilson, deploy the shield grid but keep it powered down. Thompson, ready the power absorption systems. Let's show them what primitive looks like." The Phoenix dove into the battle, still appearing as the same old vessel the Council had given them. The pirates, seeing what looked like an easy target, turned their attention to the human ship. "Multiple weapons locked on us," Wilson reported calmly. "Impact in 3, 2, 1. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Phoenix from all directions. At the last possible moment, Wilson activated their defense systems. The shield grid flared to life, not just blocking the attacks but absorbing them. Each hit made their shields stronger, feeding power back into their systems. "Shield strength increasing," Thompson announced with satisfaction. "Power levels are now at 120% and rising. Their attacks are making us stronger." The Council commanders watched in stunned silence as the supposedly obsolete vessel shrugged off attacks that had crippled their own ships. But the Phoenix wasn't done showing off. "Time to return the favor," Miller ordered. "Wilson, show them our little surprises." The ship's decorative hull patterns suddenly came alive. Thousands of micro-launchers deployed, each targeting a different pirate vessel. The Phoenix erupted in a dazzling display of defensive and offensive power that left both pirates and Council forces speechless. Araya coordinated their attack perfectly, predicting enemy movements and adjusting their weapons in real time. Pirate ships found their shields failing as specialized energy pulses disrupted their systems. Others discovered their weapons being turned against them by the Phoenix's adaptive defense grid. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," Wilson reported with a grin. "They've never seen anything like this. They don't know how to counter our systems." Miller watched as the pirate fleet tried to regroup. Their traditional tactics were useless against the Phoenix's constantly adapting defenses. Each attack they launched only made the human ship stronger, its hybrid systems working together in ways they couldn't understand. "Multiple ships are powering up their jump drives," Araya reported. "They are attempting to escape." "Not today," Miller said firmly. "Thompson, activate the gravity net. Wilson, target their engines. Let's make sure these pirates don't trouble anyone else." The Phoenix's most innovative system deployed, a web of focused gravity fields that trapped the pirate ships in place. Their engines strained against the invisible force, but they couldn't break free. One by one, Wilson's precisely targeted shots disabled their power systems. In less than 30 minutes, the battle was over. The pirate fleet that had overwhelmed the Council's defenses lay dead in space, defeated by a single primitive vessel. The Phoenix hung among them, its systems humming contentedly, ready for more if needed. "Status report," Miller called out. "Shields at 200% capacity thanks to all that absorbed energy," Thompson reported. "All systems functioning perfectly. ARRA has already analyzed their weapon systems and updated our defensive algorithms. We're actually stronger now than when the battle started." The Council commander's voice came over the comm system again, but this time the dismissive tone was gone. "Earth vessel. How? What did you do to that ship?" Miller smiled. "We improved it. Turns out humans are pretty good at making things better. Would you like assistance with your damaged vessels? Our engineering teams are quite experienced with repairs." The silence that followed was almost comical. Finally, the commander responded, "We would appreciate any assistance you can provide." As repair teams prepared to help the damaged Council ships, Miller looked at his crew with pride. They had done more than win a battle. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt and improve. "Send word to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them the Phoenix has completed its first combat trial. All systems performed beyond expectations." He paused, looking at the defeated pirate fleet. "And maybe mention that we're going to need a bigger dock. I have a feeling we're going to be making a lot more improvements after analyzing all this combat data." The Phoenix moved gracefully among the damaged ships, its sensors already cataloging new information, its systems adapting and improving. What the Council had intended as an insult had become humanity's greatest triumph. And this was just the beginning. News of the Phoenix's victory spread through the galaxy like a wildfire. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with excited discussions as representatives from various species debated what this meant for their carefully maintained hierarchy. Humans, it seemed, had done the impossible. They had turned a technological insult into a triumph that couldn't be ignored. 3 weeks after the battle, the Phoenix approached the Council's central station. This time, there were no smirks or dismissive glances from the alien diplomats. Every sensor and scanner on the station was focused on the vessel, trying to understand how humans had achieved such a transformation. Miller stood proud on his bridge, his crew at their stations. Thompson and Wilson flanked him as they prepared to dock. The ship looked much the same as when it had first been gifted to humanity, but now it moved with undeniable purpose and power. "They've assigned us their primary docking bay," Araya announced. "Interesting. According to their protocols, that berth is reserved for their most advanced vessels." Thompson smiled at her screens. "Well, we certainly qualify for that now. Our power readings alone are probably giving their sensors fits." The Phoenix settled into the dock with perfect precision. As they prepared to meet the Council, Wilson's tactical display lit up. "Captain, you might want to see this." Every military vessel in the system just went to full alert. "They're scared of us." "Not scared," Miller corrected. "Cautious. They've just discovered that humans are far more capable than they assumed. Let them watch. They might learn something." The Council chamber was packed when they entered. Species from across the galaxy had gathered to witness this historic moment. The same silver-skinned diplomat who had presented the gift stood at the central podium, looking far less confident than before. "Humans," the diplomat began, "you have surprised us. Our analysis of your battle with the pirate fleet shows capabilities we did not think possible with such basic technology." "Basic?" Thompson stepped forward, unable to contain herself. "What you saw as basic was actually flexible, adaptable. Your specialized systems are impressive, but they can't grow or change. Ours can evolve." She activated a holographic display, showing the Phoenix's systems. "Every attack makes us stronger. Every battle teaches us something new. We took your gift and made it better not because we're more advanced, but because we think differently. The chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives from various worlds began shouting questions, demanding to know how humans had achieved such results. But it was an old, quiet voice from the back of the chamber that caught everyone's attention. They did exactly what we hoped they would. The crowd parted to reveal an ancient alien, their skin wrinkled and pale. Miller recognized the species. They were nearly extinct now, but they had once been great engineers. I was part of the team that designed that vessel, the Ancient One said, moving forward slowly. We created it thousands of years ago, but not as the simple ship everyone assumed it to be. We designed it as a test. The chamber fell silent as the Ancient One continued. We built it with potential hidden capabilities that would only become apparent to a species that thought creatively, that saw possibilities where others saw limitations. We launched many such ships into the galaxy, waiting for someone to understand their true nature. Thompson's eyes widened as understanding dawned. The adaptive core, the modular systems, the hull patterns, they weren't mistakes or outdated technology. They were seeds, the Ancient One finished. Seeds waiting for the right species to help them grow. Many received our ships over the millennia. All saw them as primitive, useless. But you humans, the Ancient One's eyes gleamed. You saw what we had hidden. You understood. The council chamber buzzed with this revelation. The silver-skinned diplomat looked shocked. You mean to tell us that this was all a test? That the humans succeeded where we all failed? Not failed, Miller interjected. You just saw things differently. Humans have always had to adapt, to improve, to find new ways to solve problems. When you gave us that ship, you didn't give us limitations. You gave us opportunities. Wilson stepped forward, adding his own thoughts. Every system we added, every improvement we made, worked better than it should have. Now we know why. The ship was designed to enhance whatever was added to it, but only if those additions were made with understanding and creativity. The Ancient One nodded. And now, as was always intended, we offer humanity our people's legacy. In the ship's database, accessible only to those who proved worthy, are the technical archives of our civilization. All our knowledge, our achievements, our discoveries, they are yours now. Thompson's tablet chimed. Aria's voice announced, new data streams detected, beginning integration of archived technical data. Captain, this is incredible. The theoretical foundations alone are centuries beyond current galactic science. The council representatives whispered among themselves. Humanity hadn't just proven themselves capable. They had unlocked knowledge that had been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in ways no one had expected. The silver-skinned diplomat cleared their throat. In light of these developments, the Council proposes an immediate revision of Earth's status. We would be honored to learn from humanity's unique perspective. Miller smiled but shook his head. What we prefer is genuine cooperation. We don't want to dominate or control. We want to share what we've learned, work together, help everyone advance. That's another human trait. We believe that everyone can improve, everyone can grow stronger. The Ancient One's eyes crinkled with pleasure. And that, more than anything else, proves you were the right choice. Our technology was never meant to create a new ruling species. It was meant to find one that would help lift all others up with them. As the council session continued, Miller looked at his crew with pride. They had done more than prove humanity's worth. They had shown that the greatest strength wasn't in having the most advanced technology, but in having the vision to see possibilities where others saw limitations. So, Wilson said quietly, what do we do with all this new knowledge? Thompson was already scrolling through the technical archives, her eyes bright with excitement. We do what humans always do. We learn, we improve, and we share. And then, she looked up at the gathered representatives of the galaxy's species. Then we help everyone else do the same. The Phoenix hummed in its dock, no longer just a transformed gift, but a symbol of humanity's unique place in the galaxy. Its systems hummed quietly, already incorporating the ancient knowledge it had helped unlock. But more importantly, it stood as proof that the greatest technology wasn't the most advanced or the most specialized. It was the kind that could grow, adapt, and improve. And that was something humans understood better than anyone. The massive hangar bay of the United Earth Space Command stood silent as Captain James Walker stared at what the aliens called a gift. Next to him, his chief engineer Mike Torres scratched his gray-streaked beard, both men trying to hide their disappointment. The ship before them looked like it had been through a war and lost badly. "They can't be serious," Torres muttered, walking around a particularly large dent in the hull. "This thing looks ready for the scrapyard." Walker kept his face neutral, aware of the alien diplomats watching from the observation deck above. The ship was huge, nearly 300 meters long, its hull a patchwork of different metal plates. Paint peeled off in long strips, revealing the dull metal underneath. Several cargo doors hung at odd angles, and at least 2 of the 6 engine pods looked completely dead. Ambassador Reed, the alien representative, floated down to their level using his gravity belt. His long blue robes swished as he landed, and his face held what humans had learned to recognize as a smirk. "Is the gift not satisfactory, Captain Walker? This is, after all, a generous offering from the Galactic Council to help Earth join the spacefaring community." Walker fought to keep his voice steady. "We are grateful for the Council's generosity." He'd been warned about this. Earth was the new kid on the block, and some races didn't like how quickly humans had developed their own space technology. This gift was meant to put them in their place. Torres had already pulled out his tablet and was scanning the ship's systems. His eyes widened. "Captain, you need to see this." He handed over the device, and Walker's heart sank further. The power core was running at 12% capacity. The life support systems were barely functioning. The navigation computer looked like it had been purposely stripped of key components. "The vessel was recently decommissioned from our cargo fleet," Ambassador Reed explained, his translator making his voice sound artificially smooth. "We thought it would be appropriate for your level of technological development." Walker caught the insult, but let it slide. He'd been a captain long enough to know when someone was trying to get under his skin. Instead, he turned to Torres and nodded. "Let's get a full team in here. I want every inch of this ship examined before we make any decisions." The next 12 hours were a flurry of activity. Engineering teams swarmed over the vessel like ants, scanning, probing, and documenting everything. Walker stood in what would be the bridge, looking at the empty spaces where key equipment should be. The aliens hadn't even left them proper control interfaces. "Captain," Torres's voice crackled over the comm, "you need to come to the engine room. Now." Walker found his chief engineer standing in front of the massive power core, practically bouncing with excitement. Gone was the disappointment from earlier, replaced by a gleam in his eyes that Walker had learned to both respect and fear. "Look at this." Torres pointed to the core. "They think they stripped it down, made it useless. But they don't understand how these systems work like we do. This isn't just a power core. It's a matter-antimatter reactor. They're using maybe 2% of its potential because their systems are too specialized, too dependent on fancy controllers and interfaces." Walker raised an eyebrow. "And we can do better." Torres grinned. "Remember that fusion containment system we developed for the Mars colonies? The one everyone said was too crude, too simple. It'll work perfectly here. We can bypass their control systems entirely, run it our way. This thing could produce 5 times the power they got out of it, maybe more." More engineers joined them, each bringing similar reports. The cargo bay doors they thought were broken. The hydraulics were fine. The aliens just relied too heavily on their automated systems. The dead engine pods, only dead because someone removed the control computers. The basic thrust chambers were intact. They gave us exactly what we needed, Torres said, his hands moving quickly over his tablet. They're so used to their high-tech solutions that they forgot about the basics. We can replace their control systems with our own. Simpler, more reliable, and a hell of a lot easier to fix when something goes wrong. Walker watched as his team worked, their excitement growing with each discovery. The aliens had given them what they thought was garbage, but they'd actually given humanity exactly what it needed, a chance to prove itself. By the end of the first day, Walker had called a meeting with his senior staff. The holographic projector they'd brought in displayed a complete scan of the ship, areas highlighted in different colors showing work priorities. The hull is actually in better shape than it looks, Lieutenant Adams, the structural engineer, reported. Those dents, they're cosmetic. The actual structure is a titanium-based alloy we've never seen before. It's incredibly strong. Life support can be fixed, another engineer added. We'll have to rebuild the control systems from scratch, but the core components are solid. Give us 2 weeks, we'll have it better than new. The cargo bays are massive, Torres said, highlighting several sections. With a few modifications, we could make them modular, reconfigure them for different missions in hours instead of weeks, and those mining laser arrays they left in Bay 3. With some tweaking, they'd make one hell of a point defense system. Walker looked around the room, seeing the same expression on every face. The aliens had tried to humiliate them, but they'd failed to understand something fundamental about human nature. Give humans a challenge. Tell them they can't do something, and they'll move heaven and earth to prove you wrong. I want repair schedules and resource requirements on my desk by tomorrow morning, Walker ordered. And keep everything quiet. I don't want our friends upstairs knowing what we're really doing with their gift. As the meeting broke up, Walker walked to the observation window, looking at the ship that would become his command. Behind him, he heard Torres already arguing with Adams about power distribution systems and reactor containment protocols. Ambassador Reed's voice made him turn. The alien diplomat stood in the doorway, that same smug look on his face. Have you fully assessed your gift, Captain? I trust you understand now the challenge ahead of you. Walker smiled, and for the first time that day, it was genuine. Oh yes, Ambassador, we understand perfectly. And we're very grateful for such a thoughtful gift. I think it's exactly what we needed. The ambassador's expression flickered, just for a moment, showing uncertainty. Walker turned back to the window, hiding his satisfaction. Let them think they'd put humanity in its place. Let them think they'd handed Earth a piece of junk that would take years to make spaceworthy. They'd learn soon enough what humans could do with a little inspiration and a lot of determination. This ship wouldn't just fly again. It would become something the galaxy had never seen before. Walker already had a name picked out for it, one that seemed more appropriate with each passing hour. They would call it Phoenix, and like its namesake, it would rise from its ashes to become something magnificent, something dangerous, something that would make the galaxy realize that humanity wasn't just another minor race to be pushed around. The real work was about to begin. 3 weeks into the Phoenix project, Mike Torres stood in the engine room, watching as his team installed the new fusion control system. Sparks flew from welding torches as they connected the human-made controllers to the alien power core. The room hummed with energy and purpose, just like every other part of the ship. "How's it looking?" Captain Walker asked, ducking under a bundle of cables as he entered the engine room. Dark circles under his eyes showed he'd been sleeping as little as the rest of them. Torres grinned and pointed to the power readings on his tablet. "Remember when the aliens said this core could only run at 12%? Watch this." He nodded to his team. "Fire it up." The core's light changed from a dull red to bright blue. The hum grew louder, and the deck plates vibrated slightly under their feet. Torres watched the power readings climb. 20%, 40%, 60%. "Hold it at 70, Torres ordered. "We don't want to push it too far on the first test." He turned to Walker. "That's nearly 6 times what they got out of it, and we're not even at full power yet." Walker studied the readings. "How did you manage this?" Simple. Really. The aliens overcomplicated everything. They had 7 different computer systems just to manage power flow. We replaced it all with one robust control system based on our fusion plant designs. Less to go wrong, easier to fix if it does. They walked through the ship, checking on other modifications. The cargo bays had been transformed. What were once simple storage spaces now had reinforced walls and quick-release clamps. Entire sections could be swapped out in hours. "Watch this," Torres said, pressing a button. With a hiss of hydraulics, panels in the cargo bay walls slid aside, revealing rows of equipment. Hidden storage. We can switch from cargo hauling to other configurations without anyone outside knowing what we're carrying. Walker nodded approvingly. And the defensive systems. Torres led him to what used to be a mining storage area. The space was now filled with modified mining lasers, arranged in a circular pattern. Those lasers they left behind. Turns out the cutting beams are perfect for point defense. We've linked them to a targeting system based on our anti-missile technology. Anything small enough to get past the main shields won't last long. And our little surprise in Cargo Bay 3. Torres's grin widened. He pulled up a new diagram on his tablet. "That's the best part. Remember those old electromagnetic railgun designs Earth was working on before we joined the Galactic Council? We've built 6 of them into the hull. They look like standard cargo loading equipment from the outside, but..." He trailed off meaningfully. "How powerful are they?" "Based on our calculations, they'll punch through standard shields like they're not even there. No one uses kinetic weapons in space anymore. They're all focused on energy shields. They won't expect plain old metal moving at relativistic speeds." They reached the bridge, which had changed dramatically. Gone were the empty spaces where alien technology should have been. Instead, human-made control stations filled the room. Screens showed ship status, power levels, and sensor readings. Everything was practical, functional, and most importantly, reliable. "We've installed backup systems for everything," Torres explained. "Manual overrides, mechanical controls. If the computers fail, we can run this ship with hand cranks and eyeballs if we have to. Try finding that on a modern alien vessel." Walker sat in the captain's chair, running his hands over the familiar controls. "How long until we're ready for a real test?" 2 more days to finish the power core installation. Then maybe a week of systems testing. The aliens are still watching us, but they've gotten bored. They think we're just struggling to make basic repairs. As if on cue, Ambassador Reed's voice came from the bridge entrance. "Ah, Captain Walker. I trust your renovation efforts are proceeding as expected." Walker turned slowly, his face carefully neutral. "Yes, Ambassador. We're making progress, though it's challenging with our limited technology." The alien diplomat floated into the bridge, his anti-gravity belt humming softly. He looked around at the human equipment with poorly hidden disdain. "Indeed. The Council will be interested to hear how you're managing with such primitive solutions." Torres caught Walker's eye and quickly adjusted some settings on his tablet. The bridge lights dimmed slightly, and several screens flickered, making everything look less stable than it actually was. "We're doing our best with what we have," Walker said humbly. "Though we certainly appreciate any guidance you might offer." The ambassador waved a dismissive hand. "I'm afraid I have more pressing matters to attend to. The Council simply wanted me to verify that you were actually attempting to repair the vessel." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Captain, do try not to damage it further with your experiments. The Council would be most displeased." After the ambassador left, Torres reset the bridge systems to their proper settings. He didn't even notice the rail gun mounts, or the modified sensor arrays, or the shield generators we've installed. "They see what they expect to see," Walker said. "And they expect us to fail." He stood and walked to the main viewport. "How are the crew quarters coming along?" "Finished yesterday. We've got room for twice the normal crew complement if we need it. And the mess hall's better than anything I had on Earth ships." Adams even managed to get real gravity plating working. No more magnetic boots needed. Walker nodded, still looking out at the hangar. We're going to surprise a lot of people, Mike. This ship, what we're doing here, it's going to change everything. That's the plan, isn't it? Torres checked another set of readings on his tablet. Oh, and we finished the exterior work this morning. Want to see? They went to the hangar's observation deck. The Phoenix's hull still showed its dents and scars, but now they looked almost intentional. The patchwork of different metals had been subtly rearranged, creating a pattern that broke up the ship's visual profile. The engine pods, once dead and dark, now pulsed with a soft blue light. We left the outside looking rough on purpose, Torres explained. Let them keep underestimating us. But every dent, every patch, every broken panel serves a purpose now. We've even got sensor bafflers built into some of those scared areas. Walker smiled. A wolf in sheep's clothing. More like a dragon pretending to be a jumped cargo hauler. Torres checked the time. Speaking of which, the next power core test is in 10 minutes. Want to stick around and watch us hit 80%? Wouldn't miss it. Walker took a last look at his ship. Soon, very soon, they would show the galaxy what humanity could really do. But for now, let them watch in doubt. Let them think they'd put humanity in its place with their gift. The Phoenix would rise when it was ready, and not a moment before. The Phoenix moved silently through space, its scarred hull reflecting the light of distant stars. In the captain's chair, Walker watched the main screen as they approached the trade route between the Centauri colonies and the main shipping lanes. Their first real mission was a simple one. Show the flag and prove the ship could handle basic patrol duty. Status report, Walker called out, his eyes fixed on the sensor readings. All systems running at optimal levels, Torres reported from his engineering station. Power core holding steady at 60%, more than enough for routine operations. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. To anyone watching from the outside, the Phoenix looked like exactly what it was supposed to be, a barely functional hand-me-down struggling to prove itself useful. The dents and patches in its hull told a story of decay, not danger. The alarm came without warning. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Lieutenant Rogers called from the sensor station. 7 vessels. They're not responding to identification requests. Walker leaned forward. Show me. The main screen lit up with tactical data. The ships were arranged in an attack pattern, spreading out to cut off any escape routes. Their energy signatures matched known pirate vessels that had been raiding this sector for months. They're charging weapons, Rogers reported. They're targeting our engines first. They think we're a cargo hauler. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Let them think that. Battle stations, but keep our weapons powered down. Let's see what they do first. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, taking their positions. Screens shifted to combat displays, but nothing showed on the outside of the ship. The Phoenix continued to drift, looking for all the world like easy prey. A harsh voice crackled over the comm system. Attention Earth vessel. Your ship is now our property. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will destroy you. Walker pressed the comm button. This is Captain Walker of the Earth ship Phoenix. We're a patrol vessel, not a cargo hauler. Power down your weapons and withdraw. Laughter answered him. A patrol vessel. In that wreck. You humans are more foolish than we thought. Last warning. Power down now. All stations, battle ready, Walker ordered quietly, but hold your fire until my command. The first pirate ship fired, their energy weapons flashing across space. The shots hit the Phoenix's hull and dissipated harmlessly. No damage, Torres reported with satisfaction. Their sensors show our hull as standard metal. They have no idea about the energy dispersal layers we built into those patches. 2 more ships opened fire, their weapons targeting the engine pods. Again, the shots seemed to do nothing more than scorch the already damaged-looking hull. They're moving closer, Rogers reported. preparing to launch boarding shuttles. Walker nodded. Let them get in nice and close. Torres, are the cargo bay doors ready? Yes, sir. They still think those are just battle damage. The pirate ships moved into position, surrounding the Phoenix. Their boarding shuttles detached, moving toward what they thought were vulnerable airlocks. Now, Walker ordered. The Phoenix came alive. The supposedly damaged cargo bay doors snapped open, revealing rows of point defense lasers. The modified mining beams lashed out with surgical precision, cutting through the boarding shuttles like paper. Rail guns online, Torres called out. Target solutions ready. Target their engines, Walker commanded. Show them what primitive technology can do. The rail guns fired. There was no beam of light, no visible energy discharge, just the silent launch of metal projectiles accelerated to terrifying speeds. The first pirate ship's shields flared brilliantly as they tried to stop the kinetic rounds. They failed. The projectiles punched through, tearing into their engine section. Direct hit, Rogers called out. Their power grid is failing. They're dropping out of formation. The remaining pirates tried to regroup, but they'd lost their advantage. The Phoenix's true weapons were now fully powered, and its engines, far from being crippled, roared to life. Multiple targets attempting to flee, Rogers reported. 3 ships powering up their FTL drives. Oh, no, you don't, Walker said. Torres, show them our little surprise. Torres grinned and activated the gravity wave projectors they'd built into the hull's battle damage. The fleeing ships suddenly found themselves unable to enter FTL, caught in localized gravity distortions that played havoc with their drive systems. All ships, this is Captain Walker, he broadcast. Your vessels are disabled, your boarding parties are destroyed, and reinforcements are on the way. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This time, we'll be the ones coming to you. The battle was over in less than 10 minutes. As security teams secured the pirate vessels, Walker received an urgent communication from the nearest Galactic Council outpost. Ambassador Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. Captain Walker, we've received reports of weapons fire along the trade route. Your vessel was supposed to be conducting a simple patrol. Explain yourself. Walker gestured to the captured pirate ships visible behind him. Simply doing our duty, Ambassador. We encountered pirates and dealt with them. 7 ships captured, no casualties on either side. Will there be anything else? The ambassador's mouth opened and closed several times before he found his voice. 7 ships. That's impossible. Your vessel is a decommissioned cargo hauler. It barely functions. Apparently it functions well enough, Walker replied mildly. Though we appreciate your concern. Phoenix out. He cut the transmission before the ambassador could respond. Torres laughed from his station. Think they'll figure it out now? They'll certainly try, Walker said. But they'll be looking for advanced alien technology, hidden upgrades we shouldn't have. They won't understand that we simply took what they gave us and made it better. The crew spent the next few hours securing their prisoners and documenting the battle. Word spread quickly through the sector. A human ship, one that looked like space junk, had single-handedly captured 7 pirate vessels without taking any significant damage. Sir, Rogers called out later, we're getting unusual readings from the Council outpost. Multiple ships launching. I think they're coming to investigate. Walker nodded. Let them come. Torres, power everything down to minimal levels. Let's look nice and humble when they arrive. Playing Wounded Bird again? Torres asked with a grin. Something like that. Walker looked around his bridge, at the crew who had helped turn a piece of junk into one of the most effective fighting ships in the sector. They gave us exactly what they thought we deserved. It's not our fault they didn't understand what humans can do with a little inspiration and a lot of determination. The Phoenix drifted in space, its battle-scarred hull hiding its true nature. Soon, the Council ships would arrive, would scan and study and try to understand how they'd been so wrong about humanity's capabilities. But they wouldn't find what they were looking for. The real secret wasn't in the technology. It was in the human spirit that had turned their insult into triumph. The inspection team from the Galactic Council moved through the Phoenix with scanner devices in hand, their expressions growing more frustrated by the minute. Captain Walker followed them, maintaining a helpful but confused appearance as they searched for secrets that weren't there. "I don't understand," the lead inspector said, waving his scanner at a perfectly ordinary wall panel. "Where are the weapon systems? The advanced shields? The technology you must have stolen to defeat those pirates?" Walker spread his hands innocently. "As you can see, we're just using basic systems. Everything here was either part of the original ship or built with Earth technology. Would you like to examine our engine room next?" The inspectors had been aboard for 6 hours, and they'd found nothing they could prove violated Council regulations. Every modification was documented. Every system was built with either salvaged parts or human technology. It wasn't their fault if no one had bothered to check what humans were capable of building. Torres met them in the engine room, carefully hiding his amusement as the inspectors searched for non-existent violations. "Careful near the power core," he warned. "We're running at minimal power, but the radiation shielding is still pretty basic by your standards." The lead inspector snorted. "Basic is an understatement. Your control systems are practically prehistoric." He turned to his team. "Check the secondary systems. There must be something we're missing." The Phoenix's crew went about their duties, pretending not to notice the increasingly agitated inspectors. Walker was about to suggest they take a break when the alert klaxon sounded. "Captain, to the bridge." Roger's voice came over the intercom. "Multiple hostile ships detected." Walker turned to the inspection team. "Gentlemen, you'll have to continue your work later. We have a situation." On the bridge, the tactical display showed 5 warships dropping out of FTL. Their design was unfamiliar, but their weapons were already charged. "Message coming in," Rogers reported. A harsh voice filled the bridge. "Earth vessel Phoenix, you have interfered with our operations in this sector. The loss of our pirate allies has cost us greatly. Prepare to be destroyed." The lead inspector stepped forward. "This is a Council inspection team. Stand down immediately." The only response was a barrage of energy weapons. The Phoenix rocked slightly as the shots impacted. "Minimal damage," Torres reported. "They're using standard energy weapons. Our hull modifications are holding." "Get those inspectors off my bridge," Walker ordered. "Lieutenant Rogers, battle stations. Torres, power up everything. They've already seen what we can do. No point hiding it now." As security led the protesting inspectors away, the Phoenix came alive. Power surged through systems that had been dormant during the inspection, and hidden weapons emerged from their concealment. "Enemy ships are spreading out," Rogers reported. "They're trying to surround us like the pirates did." Walker smiled grimly. "They did their homework. Too bad they learned the wrong lessons. Torres, show them our new tricks." The Phoenix's engines flared, but instead of trying to escape the encirclement, the ship drove straight at the nearest enemy vessel. The enemy commander, expecting them to behave like a normal patrol ship, was caught off guard. "Rail guns 1 through 3, target their bridge," Walker commanded. 4 through 6, target their engines. Fire when ready." The rail guns spoke, sending hypersonic projectiles streaking through space. The enemy ship's shields flared brilliantly and failed. Their advanced energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, couldn't handle the simple kinetic force of metal slugs moving at relativistic speeds. "Direct hits," Rogers called out. "Enemy vessel is disabled." The remaining ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma bolts hammered the Phoenix, but its patchwork hull, now revealed as sophisticated armor, held firm. "They're trying to overload our shields," Torres reported from engineering. "But they don't realize we're not using standard shield configurations. Each hull plate is its own independent defense system. They can't overwhelm them all at once. Walker nodded. Time to show them what else we've added. Deploy the drones. What the enemy had assumed were simple debris chunks attached to the Phoenix's hull suddenly detached and came to life. Dozens of small automated craft swarmed out, each carrying a miniaturized version of the mining laser point defense system. The drones attacked from multiple angles, their simple but effective weapons cutting through the enemy ship's own point defense systems. They weren't trying to destroy the ships, just disable their weapons and engines with precision strikes. "Sir," Rogers called out. 2 more ships dropping out of FTL. They're Council warships. The Council vessels arrived just in time to see the Phoenix, the ship they'd dismissed as junk, systematically dismantling the superior force. The inspection team, watching from a secure compartment, couldn't believe their eyes. "This is impossible," the lead inspector muttered. "They're using mining lasers as weapons, cargo bay doors as shield generators, repair drones as attack craft. None of this should work." But it did work. Within minutes, the attacking ships were disabled, their crews surrendering to the combined forces of the Phoenix and the Council vessels. Ambassador Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Captain Walker, you will explain these modifications immediately. This level of military technology was not authorized." Walker kept his voice calm. "Ambassador, we've broken no Council laws. Every system on this ship was either part of your original gift or built with human technology. If you'd like to discuss specific regulations we violated, I'll be happy to arrange another inspection." "Another?" the ambassador sputtered. "Captain, you've turned a cargo hauler into a warship more effective than vessels 10 times its size. This cannot be allowed." "Why not?" Walker asked simply. "Because we did it differently than you would have. Because we found solutions you never considered. The Council gave us this ship as a lesson in humility. We learned that lesson, but perhaps not the one you intended to teach." The ambassador's hologram flickered as he struggled to respond. Behind him, Walker could see other Council members gathering, their expressions ranging from concern to grudging respect. "This isn't over, Captain," Reed finally said. "The Council will need to reevaluate humanity's position after this incident." "We look forward to the discussion," Walker replied politely. Phoenix out. As the hologram faded, Torres looked up from his engineering station. "Think they'll try to take the ship from us?" Walker shook his head. "They can't. Not now. We've proven what we can do with their cast-offs. Imagine what they think we could do with actual military hardware." "Sir," Rogers called out, "we're getting messages from other Earth ships. They want to know how we modified our systems. Apparently, every human vessel in the sector is suddenly very interested in basic technology." Walker laughed. The Council had tried to put humanity in its place by giving them garbage. Instead, they'd given humanity exactly what it needed: a chance to prove that innovation and determination could overcome any technological gap. "Send them the specifications," he ordered. "Let's show everyone what humans can really do when someone tells us we can't do something." The Phoenix hung in space, its battle-scarred hull now a badge of honor rather than a mark of shame. They'd turned scrap into strength, insult into innovation. And this was just the beginning. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity. Representatives from 100 worlds gathered to discuss what many were now calling the Phoenix Incident. Captain Walker stood calmly at the center of the chamber, his dress uniform crisp and neat. Behind him, Engineer Torres shifted uncomfortably in his own formal wear. The council leader, a tall figure with silvery skin, raised his hand for silence. "We have reviewed the events of the past 3 months. The Phoenix, a vessel given to Earth as part of their integration into the galactic community, has become something unprecedented." Walker kept his face neutral as images appeared in the air around him. The Phoenix in battle, its supposedly primitive systems defeating advanced warships, the modified cargo bays transforming for different missions, the hybrid power core outputting energy levels that should have been impossible. In that time, the council leader continued, the Phoenix has captured 23 pirate vessels, prevented 4 raids on colonial worlds, and successfully defended itself against a military-grade attack force, all while using what we considered obsolete technology. Ambassador Reed stepped forward, his usual smugness replaced by a careful diplomatic smile. The council must consider the implications. Humanity has demonstrated unexpected capabilities. Unexpected. A voice called out from the gallery. A ship captain from one of the older races stood up. They'd done more than that. My crew studied the records of their battles. They're not just using the technology differently. They're using it better than we do. Murmurs filled the chamber. Walker glanced at Torres, who gave him a slight nod. They'd known this day would come ever since their first victory. Would the human captain explain his methods? The council leader asked. Walker stepped forward. There's nothing to explain that we haven't already shared. We took what you gave us and looked at it with fresh eyes. Where you saw limitations, we saw possibilities. He gestured to the images floating around them. You gave us a power core you thought was too primitive to be useful. We stripped away the overcomplicated control systems and found something remarkable underneath. You left mining lasers in the cargo bay because they were outdated. We turned them into one of the most effective point defense systems in the galaxy. Torres added, every modification we made is documented. Every system we built uses either parts from the original ship or technology we developed on Earth. We didn't break any rules. We just solved problems differently than you would have. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives argued for restrictions on human innovation. Others demanded access to Earth's engineering techniques. Through it all, Walker and Torres stood quietly, waiting. Finally, an elderly member of one of the founding races stood up. I remembered, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. When our own races were young. When we solved problems with creativity instead of relying on established solutions. Perhaps we have forgotten something important. The council leader nodded slowly. Indeed, Captain Walker, your ship was meant to teach humanity humility. Instead, you have taught us a valuable lesson. The council recognizes that we may have underestimated Earth's potential. We're not asking for advanced technology, Walker replied. We're not even asking for an apology. All we want is to be treated as equals, to contribute what we can to the galactic community in our own way. And what way is that? Ambassador Reed asked, unable to keep a slight edge from his voice. Torres stepped forward. By remembering that the simplest solution is often the best, by not letting our tools think for us, by keeping backup systems that don't need computers to work. He smiled, and by never assuming that something is worthless just because it's not the latest model. The council spent hours deliberating. When they finally reached their decision, it wasn't what anyone had expected. The council leader stood. We hereby establish a new division within the Galactic Defense Force. The Phoenix and its crew will lead a joint training program, teaching their methods to ships from all member worlds. Additionally, Earth will receive full access to galactic technology, not because they need it, but because they've earned it. Ambassador Reed looked like he'd swallowed something sour, but he nodded in agreement. The Council recognizes that different approaches have value. Earth's methods, while unconventional, have proven highly effective. As they left the chamber, Torres grinned at Walker. Think they'll ever admit they were trying to insult us with that ship? They don't need to, Walker replied. The results speak for themselves. Back on the Phoenix, the crew gathered in the mess hall to celebrate. The ship that had been meant as a joke was now officially recognized as one of the most effective vessels in known space. More importantly, it had opened doors for all of humanity. Message from Earth Command, Rogers called out. They're starting production on 5 more ships using our modifications. They're calling it the Phoenix class. Walker looked around at his crew, at the ship that had become so much more than anyone expected. The scared hull now bore its damage proudly, each dent and patch telling a story of human ingenuity and determination. "You know," Torres said thoughtfully, "we could probably make her even better now that we have access to advanced technology." Walker shook his head. "We'll keep her exactly as she is. Let her stand as a reminder that it's not about having the best technology. It's about how you use what you have." The Phoenix's story spread throughout the galaxy. Other races began studying Earth's primitive solutions, learning that sometimes the old ways, the simple ways, were still valuable. Some even started stripping down their own ships, replacing complex systems with more reliable alternatives. In the end, the Council's attempt to humble humanity had backfired completely. They'd wanted to teach humans their place in the galaxy. Instead, humans had taught the galaxy that true advancement wasn't just about having the newest technology. It was about understanding the technology you had and using it creatively. The Phoenix continued to patrol the space lanes, its scared hull and jury-rigged systems now a source of pride rather than shame. It stood as living proof that with enough determination and ingenuity, even scraps could become something extraordinary. And if sometimes Ambassador Reed passed the ship in his sleek diplomatic vessel and remembered his own smug certainty about humanity's limitations, well, that was just an added bonus.